Back-to-back weeks of home primetime games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's also back-to-back weeks of hosting the New Jersey teams as the Pittsburgh Steelers stay at home Monday night to take on the New York Giants on Monday Night Football under the lights, closing out Week 8. Let's get into this preview. Good Friday morning to everybody. I am Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram, link down in the box below. This is my Week 8 preview between the Giants and the Steelers on Monday Night Football. Check your local listings on ESPN. So, getting on to this preview, let's talk about the Giants for a bit. So, obviously, the Giants, you look at them on face value, that you look at their record, you assume, oh, they're 2-5. They're off to another lousy start. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL, right? I don't see it that way because the truth about the Giants is that they've really only had, in my opinion, two awful games this whole season. Week 1 against the Vikings, where they got demolished at home 28-6. But even then, in that game, the Giants were a little competitive, and then Minnesota just ran away with it in the second half. And then last Sunday against the Eagles, where the Giants lost 28-3 at home to them. That was really just an awful game that the Giants had no chance in, where their old teammate Saquon Barkley just ripped them a new asshole, to put it lightly. But other than that, the Giants have actually been relatively competitive in the games that they've played this season. You look at them and, you take a look at the offense they got, the defense especially that they got, and you wonder to yourself, how does this team not have more wins if they've been competitive in the games that they've played this season? I think the thing that holds them back is definitely the play calling and their quarterback. So, getting on to the Giants offense first, obviously they're under Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, I don't really think he's the main problem in New York, like a lot of Giants fans say he is. I think he's a decent head coach. He just needs a couple of things to work up on. But other than that, I think Brian Daboll's a smart football guy. I think he's a good head coach. I think he's a tough head coach. And he just doesn't have the best supporting cast around him. He runs a pro spread type of offense. And the Giants definitely do have some playmakers on offense, mainly in Malik Nabers. Their rookie wide receiver, Malik Nabers. I think he's a really good young talent that has a bright future in this league. And he's the main guy that the Steelers definitely need to watch out for in this game here. He's very elusive. He's really good at creating space in between defensive backs. And last week against Philly, he was limited basically in that game. He was quiet there. He had 4 catches on 8 targets for 41 yards. So that was really that was really the first real quiet game that he's had this season so far. I know he's been dealing with an injury as of late, but the ceiling's very high for Malik Nabers. I think Giants fans definitely have a right to be high on him. Then of course you got speedsters like Singletary and Slayton. They got really good speed as well. Singletary in the backfield. Slayton's always been has always been a reliable target as well. But yeah, the Giants, they do have, some good playmakers on the offense right there. And that leads me to my first key to victory, is that you got to limit Malik Nabers in this game. I believe he's going to be going one-on-one with JPJ in this game. And it's kind of 50-50 right there because while like I mentioned, Malik Neighbors, he's real good at creating separation and he's really good at winning those 50-50 type of matchups right there. But also JPJ has a 65% lock on target this season, which is actually third in the NFL among starting cornerbacks in the NFL. So I think if you're going to have JPJ be one-on-one with Malik Neighbors, you got to send him some safety help as well. Because if you get Malik Neighbors involved in this game and you let Malik Neighbors have a solid night, the Giants offense is going to gain confidence and it's going to open the door for opportunities for them. But even then, I'm really not 100% sure that the Giants can do that because I think the number two thing that holds the Giants back from being a really solid team this year is their quarterback, Daniel Jones. So, Daniel Jones, obviously, he was infamously taken 6th overall in the 2019 NFL draft. And for a while, it seemed like Daniel Jones would prove the doubters wrong as he had a pretty good rookie season. But then ever since then, it's been all downhill for him. And I remember the last time that we played the Giants, which was ironically on a Monday Night Football game to open up the 2020 season, Daniel Jones did not have a good game against us. And, like I said, ever since then, it's been all downhill. The Giants did win a playoff game amazingly with Daniel Jones as their quarterback, but that was the highlight of his career. And, one playoff win doesn't justify him being the back, doesn't justify him being the starter, in my opinion. I think the Giants made a big mistake giving him, what, $60 million for that big extension that he got. But Daniel Jones in general is just very inconsistent as a starter. The one thing that he has going for him for his whole career is that he is very elusive when it comes to RPOs and he does make good use of his legs. But other than that, I just don't see a guy that's capable of leading an offense and being a franchise quarterback. To me, he's a bottom tier starter. His absolute ceiling is being a mediocre starter in the NFL at best and potentially a backup. To me, that's his ceiling, is being a quality backup quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback. He doesn't have good awareness in the pocket. His decision making is very off. And his maneuverability in the pocket and him not being able to read defenses is why that he's been sacked for a large part of his career. Sure, it's easy to blame the Giants O-line on that, but I put some of that on Daniel Jones as well. And speaking of that, the biggest thing that I think holds the Giants back in this game is that Daniel Jones just doesn't do well under pressure, and he doesn't do well under the lights as well. People talk about Derek Carr being a bad primetime quarterback. People talk about Kirk Cousins being a bad primetime quarterback. People talk about Andy Dalton being a bad primetime quarterback. Daniel Jones is the absolute worst because in 16 starts in primetime games, the New York Giants are just 1-15 in primetime games when Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback. So obviously my second key to victory here is that the Steelers got to make Danny Dimes, as they call him over there in New York, they got to make Danny Dimes into Danny Donations. Okay. And what I mean by that is you got to get constant pressure on him, because if you get constant pressure on Daniel Jones, he's going to crumble in the pocket. He's going to fall victim to it. It's going to lead to poor decisions. It's going to lead to turnovers, and it's going to lead to sacks. The Giants O-line last week gave up 8 sacks. 8 sacks last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, this is a Steeler defense and a Steeler pass rush that's very capable of racking up sacks this week, which is why I think, obviously, our two biggest playmakers on defense here have to be TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith coming up on the edge. And taking a look at the trench battle right here, I think it's very favorable for us. We did get 8 hits on Aaron Rodgers last week, We only got 1 sack on him, but we were hitting him. But now I think this is the game where we can get the sacks and the hits on Daniel Jones. So, like I said, off the edges, I think that works in our favor here because Alex Highsmith is going up against a backup left tackle for the Giants as Andrew Thomas is going to miss time with injury. And then TJ on the right side against their right tackle. I think that just needs no explanation right there. So definitely that works in a big favor in our advantage right there. You get constant pressure on Daniel Jones, which I think we're more than capable of doing. You cause turnovers, you get sacks, you stop the run. That's going to lead to victory, and that's going to lead to keeping the Giants off the field for as much as possible. And that takes a lot of time off of getting Malik Neighbors involved in this game. You know, the Steelers got 2 turnovers last week against Aaron Rodgers, which were both interceptions by Beanie Bishop, and 2 block punts as well. I think, we can duplicate that again, get a couple turnovers off of Daniel Jones. He has had a fumbling problem throughout his career, and he does throw very untimely interceptions as well. Steelers can definitely take advantage of that right there. And, I think the trends lean in our favor right here because on offense, the Giants are scoring, the Giants on offense are scoring what we allow. The Giants are basically scoring 14 points a game while the Steeler defense averages allowing 14 points a game. So you take a look at the trends and you take a look at, the stats. The Giants can walk away with this game with only 14 points. And that leaves a lot less pressure on our offense right there to put points on the board. Not that I'm saying the offense has to do the bare minimum once again. I would love for the offense to score 30 points again, but you know what I'm saying. The Giants aren't a team that scores a lot of points. They're not a team that can rack up, the stat sheet and light up the scoreboard. They're a very, the Giants haven't been a good offensive team, and the Steelers got to take advantage of that. Now, taking a look at the Giants' defense, this is where the Giants are competitive because my third key to victory right here is that you got to respect the defense that the Giants have. Like I said, if there's one thing that the Giants have done right this season, it is the defense. This is a very stingy defense that we're going up against on Monday Night Football. And the Giants' pass rush is very tough. As a matter of fact, they actually lead the league in sacks with 31, and they're also 5th in QB hits. And their third down defense is one of the best in the NFL. So that's what I mean right there. You got to respect the defense that the Giants are going to be putting out in this game. Shane Bowen, he runs the defense. He runs a Bill Belichick 3-4 type of defense right there. And then you take a look at some of the players they got. Brian Burns on the edge. I think he's a really good playmaker for the Giants right there. You got Deonte Banks and Drew Phillips in the secondary right there. 2 really good young corners that the Giants are high on. Tyler Nubin, he has some potential in this league as well. And of course, in my opinion, the best nose tackle in the NFL at Dexter Lawrence. And right off the bat, I can tell you right there, not a matchup that's favorable for us. Dexter Lawrence going up against Ryan McCollum most likely in this game because Zach Frazier's still hurt. I really don't know if I like that. Dexter Lawrence, he's a freak. He's a very heavy hitter. He causes a lot of pressure, and him going up against Ryan McCollum, I think, is a mismatch for us. Not that I'm saying that I don't like Ryan McCollum because I think he's done, an okay job filling in for Zach Frazier, but the matchup here against Dexter Lawrence, I think, leans towards in the Giants' favor right there. So like I said, you got to respect this defense that the Giants have, and you got to expose their weaknesses going into this game. The Giants' pass defense is bottom tier this year. They're 29th in pass defense. And as you guys all know, the Steelers are coming off a very good offensive game where Russell Wilson in his debut passed for 264 yards and he had 3 total touchdowns. So that also coincides with getting guys like George Pickens involved and capitalizing off the game that he had last Sunday against the Jets, where he had 5 receptions on 9 targets for a whopping 111 yards and a touchdown. Because to me, if Pickens is going to be the one-on-one type of guy right there, again, it kind of goes 50-50 right there, because as good as George Pickens is on the 50-50 type of catches, that has to be if the Giants are loading up are loading up the box. Because the way I see it, if the Giants do load up the box, their focus is going to be on stopping Najee Harris, okay? Because Najee Harris has burst on the scene over the past couple weeks, and he's been playing like the running back that we took him in the draft in the first round in 2021 for. So getting back to what I was saying, if the Giants load up the box, their main focus is going to be stopping guys like Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. So that means Russ needs to take deep shots down the field and expose the Giants' weakness and catch them napping right there if they're going to be focused on stopping the run right there. And we saw that Russ was doing that basically all night last Sunday night against the Jets. So definitely take advantage of gaffes and take advantage of mishaps that the Giants have on defense, but you also got to respect it at the same time. This means with the quick reads. This means with staying in schedule with the run. And this means winning those one-on-one opportunities and getting the ball out as quickly as possible, but making smart decisions at the same time. You do all that, you can tire out this Giants defense and you can beat them when they're napping, and you can take advantage of it when they are, showing signs of weakness on the defense. Giants are also 30th in completion. They have allowed 71% of their completions this year, and it showed last week against Philly. They gave up 89 yards to A.J. Brown. So definitely I see George Pickens potentially having a solid night because, like I said, as feisty as this Giants defense is, they are prone to giving up some explosive plays. And the Steelers over the past couple weeks, we have been able to get those explosive plays. So definitely, like I said, take advantage of the Giants napping. If you catch them napping, take advantage of it. Okay. Basically, overall, you take a look at the roster standpoint and you take a look at how these teams match up in general. You'd think that the Giants have no chance in this game. You'd think that the Steelers are just going to waltz in back home and we're going to dominate the Giants in this game. This is where I'm saying that the Steelers need to be careful, okay? Because in games like this, I'm once bitten and twice shy now when it comes to games like this. For as confident as I am that we're going to walk away and get this W against the Giants, I also know that the Steelers are very notorious for playing down in games like this. Because when's the last time that you can recall that the Steelers have had back-to-back blowout wins and back-to-back games where they scored 30 or more points? Ain't happened in a while. And now you're playing, a Giants team that's just not very good, and they're coming into your place, and you have a chance to be 6-2 at your bye week, and probably even end up in first place depending on how the Ravens-Browns game goes on Sunday, even though we probably all know what's going to happen in that game. But how many times have you seen this as a Steeler fan? Like I said, I'm very confident we'll win this game. I think we outmatch the Giants in just about every category that you think about, maybe except for Dexter Lawrence and Ryan McCollum. That's really it. But how many times have you seen the Steelers do this? That's my last and most important key to victory right here. Don't beat yourself, okay? Go out there, treat the Giants just like you treat every other opponent that you play. Just because this team is 2-5, that doesn't mean you should sleep on them, and that doesn't mean that you should take this game for granted and just assume that you're going to walk away with a win. No, I don't want to see that. Okay? If there's one thing, okay, and heavy emphasis on this, if there's one thing that I do give Mike Tomlin credit for as much as I can't stand the guy, the one thing that he has done well in his tenure as Steelers head coach is that he usually, again, heavy emphasis on usually, he usually has the Steelers play well at home on Monday Night Football. And this is a home Monday Night Football game. We're repping the color rush unis in this game. I love those uniforms, by the way. Those are some of my favorite uniforms the Steelers have ever had. So don't beat yourself. Don't make foolish mistakes. Don't sleep on the Giants. Don't underestimate them and treat them like a formidable opponent. And you're going to walk away with a win. Maybe we won't blow them out. Maybe we won't dominate them like we did to the Jets and Raiders. Maybe we won't even put 30 points on the board. At the end of the day, this ain't college football. It doesn't matter. Go out there, win, get the 6-2, and get to your bye week. And that's the bottom line of everything right there. But yeah, Steelers and Giants. A lot of history between these two, as the Giants actually are the first team that the Steelers ever played all the way back in 1933. And, in my lifetime, they haven't played very often, as, we basically play the Giants once every election year. But a couple of games that I can remember, the first Steelers Giants matchup that I remember seeing was the 04 matchup when Big Ben and Eli went at it when they were, both taken in that year's draft. And the Steelers won a shootout over the Giants in New York, 33-30. Then in 2008, the Giants came into Pittsburgh and they beat us off of a really bad game by Big Ben. I think he had 4 interceptions in that game, and the Giants defense just devoured us in that one, a 21-14 win for the Giants, which I believe was the last time the Giants beat us. And then 2012, we had that great comeback in the fourth quarter against the Giants in New York and beat them. 2016, and then 2016 and 2020, we beat them by 10, respectively. So, yeah, the Steelers and Giants, they do have history with one another. I don't know why these two usually get late game slots or primetime matchups with each other, though, with that being said. Like, if it was still Big Ben and Eli, I'd understand it, but, those days are long gone. Come to think of it, I think in the last 5 matchups since 2004 that these two have had, it's either been a late game slot or a primetime slot, because I remember 2020 week 1 was a Monday night game, and now this is a Monday night game. And then 2016 was a late Sunday afternoon game, as was 2012. I think 2008 was a late Sunday afternoon game as well. And if I'm not mistaken, 2004 was also a late Sunday game. So, yeah, for some reason, we usually get the Giants in late Sunday afternoon games or primetime games. I don't know why, but, not that I'm complaining about it. I just don't think this game needs to be a Monday night game, but it is what it is. I don't control how the schedules are made. I don't control how, teams match up in primetime with each other, so I'm just going to go with it. But you got Monday Night Football. It's the Giants and the Steelers. I actually do have a lot of respect for the New York Giants. I always have. They're one of those blue-collar teams that I've just always had a lot of respect for, even before they upset Tom Brady and the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. I've just always had a lot of respect for the Giants, and, hopefully this can be a good game. I do expect the Giants to be competitive in this game. I do expect them to put up a fight, but I do expect my guys in the end to come away with a W and get to 6-2 at the bye. So let me know what you think down in the comments below about this. And this was my preview. I am Mac, checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.